founder and executive director of Info Lens Consult Limited. So Mr. Raymond has a master's degree in finance and investment, a BSc land economy, and is a professional member of the Ghana Institute of Surveyors, GHIS. He also has the Financial Modeling and Valuation Analyst certificate from the Corporate Finance Institute, Canada. He is a final level 3 candidate of the Chartered Financial Analyst CFA Institute, US, towards the award of the CFA Charter. Raymond has completed all the levels of the Ghana Stock Exchange Securities Industry course and has been awarded the Securities Industry Certificate. Well, Mr. Raymond, your profile is more of strategic and oh God. Well, one day when we grow, I want to be like you. So so on behalf of all the participants and those watching us on Facebook, I would like to say a very big thank you to all of you. And I'm glad that we've been able to make time to listen to Mr. Raymond Nabi. So Mr. Raymond Nabi, please, you can kindly have the floor as we wait to learn from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chief Oje, and good evening to all of us. I am glad that you have me this evening to share a few thoughts with you. If at any point in time there's a difficulty in the feedback you get from, kindly alert me beforehand so that I would be able to position myself very well. I hope that the whole session is quite uninterrupted throughout the period and that we're able to share a few thoughts. Thanks also for the introduction about me. It's a privilege once again to be on this program at this evening. Now we are going to speak about the pizza of success. And prior to that, Ernest has introduced me. I wouldn't do much of it. My name is Raymond Nabi, to be a bigger boy than I am today. In many perspectives you want to be with. But critical to this for me and for every other youth, for every other person who has gone through the full life cycle is success. Most of us pursue success at every stage of our lives in different dimensions. And so in this discussion, much as we're talking about success, it would ring bells for various aspects of our lives, depending on how we do it. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So we move to the meat of our conversation this evening. I intend that it becomes much more of an interactive conversation. I will share my thoughts. We'll open the floor for questions, for feedback, for thoughts. And at the end of the day, we would have shared something from me with you. And I would also have picked certain lessons or further questions to ponder over in the pursuit of life. Now, if you can see my screen, we've done a brief introduction. I welcome all of you once again. I perceive that probably our audience might be more of Ghana-based, but for purposes of the online system, we could probably have a few of them not in Ghana. Largely, the context of the conversation would target Ghana, but it will still be useful for anybody who is not in Ghana. Why our topic, the pizza of success? When I was engaged to share a few thoughts on this, we could have spoken about a number of things, but I decided to choose pizza of success because one, this conversation largely has a youthful audience, and two, pizza is a common food that I would likely call it the food of the youth. At least large parts of the youth in Ghana and across the world would have encountered pizza at one point in time or the other. But most important is that even as we all consume pizza, even as once in a while I encounter pizza, even as I reflect on the whole makeup of pizza, I see that there are very bits and pieces of the pizza flow, the work chain of pizza that apply also here. Now, success, economically successful, but we have a very bad marriage. So another person standing somewhere may say, oh, he wasn't a successful person. Someone could be successful in marriage, but economically might be unsuccessful. And another may say, oh, he wasn't successful. So then what is success at all? For the purpose of this conversation, I intend that our view of success will be more focused on the quality of life. But to be able to measure that, I think economics is a very fundamental way in which we put figures on success. So the large part of it would look at being economically successful. But you would also find in the flow of the conversation that I was in, as we discussed, then would improve various other aspects from pizza, the pizza of success, national. Now, pizza as a food, pizza as it is eaten by most of a food item that originated from Italy. And the key question is how come pizza is foreign to us? Pizza is foreign to many other people. It has gotten so much attention, it has gotten so much appeal globally. When I sit and reflect on this, I feel that, okay, sometimes in life, to be useful, to be successful in life, you would probably have to pursue success beyond your borders. Now, when I talk about borders, it could be your geographical borders. Probably you are based in Accra. Sometimes you may have to move from Accra to a different location. You might be in Ghana. Sometimes you may have to move beyond Ghana. You might be somewhere else apart from Africa. Sometimes you may have to relocate. But the principal thing is, even as you look at being international, how are you being international? Sometimes being international is not about changing your physical location. It is about having a makeup of yourself that makes you useful for an international audience than necessarily relocating. A key example is Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg has gone international. He earns money from all of us. Largely, he has been successful, but I don't think he has been in Ghana before. So we are talking about being international. Those are some of the things we may be looking at. And pizza gives us that lesson. So whenever you eat pizza, whenever remember that pizza is not your food anyway. It is a foreign food, but you are spending on it. Ask yourself, how can you also package yourself to international so that someone in US can spend on you whilst you're in Ghana? The second thing I would like us to look at is that pizza is a brand. Pizza is a brand. Now, the success of it beyond the international boundary is not just the fact that it is pizza. And even before the fact that it is a brand, I think the second point, let me alter it. Pizza is a product. Even before we look at it being so, pizza being a product means that for all of us, if you want to pursue something, sometimes you have to look at yourself as a working product. If you're a working product, then you ask yourself, when people buy you, what value they derive? to have an international audience, have an international geography want to spend on you, want to
Yeah, I think we have lost the speaker, but please, sorry for that. Let's kindly hold on as he will join us quickly. Thank you very much. But then even before that, I think so far is getting very interesting. It's getting very interesting because I've been able to write some few notes. So as we wait for the speaker, I would like us to, in fact, like go through it once again. He was talking about pizza being international, and he focused more on how we can be useful beyond our borders. He also talked about pizza as a product, where he highlighted that we should package ourselves as a working product. So that is very, very powerful. And he also looked at pizza as a brand, where he was talking of our personal branding. So I think there's a lot to learn today. So we would be waiting for him to join us. And I believe this section will be very, very impactful despite our few challenges. Thank you. Well, I think as we are waiting for the speaker, we can also, because I believe that each and every person here has something to contribute to so far the first slide that we've actually heard, whereby the speaker was saying that pizza is international, and for that matter, we should be useful beyond our borders. So if anyone has something to contribute as we wait for the speaker, please, the floor is open so that we can be sharing different ideas and perspective to how we are actually coping with it as we wait for him. I can see Mr. Bernard Ahiabla, the big man. Boss,
Ernest,
boss,
Ernest.
yes.
Yeah, I have light out, so you can't see my face actually.
Okay, no
It's
problem.
poor, but I want to contribute more.
Yeah, the floor
Yeah,
is open.
he was saying pizza like as success is the strategies of success, right?
Yeah,
And he was talking about from the pizza perspective,
yes, please.
right?
Yeah,
Yes. So he was talking about the brand. He said the personal brand. You should have a personal brand. I could the point he noted. You should have a personal brand, right?
yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, please, I can.
Yeah, you should have a personal brand, and the second one was you should go beyond borders.
Yeah,
Now they are all good, but sometimes I guess before the borders, can't you should have a link. You should have a link before you get to you'll be able to go to the border above the borders, right?
okay. So you are saying
Yes.
that you should have the right network or
The
links
right network. The right network
so that you'll be able to go beyond your borders.
beyond borders.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's an interesting perspective.
Because if you have links and what do you call it, friends or network,
Yeah,
let's say Mark Zuckerberg, I don't think he started like that. He had ideas from Ghana, ideas from other countries, and he took different ideas, placed it together, then he was able to bring out that project. Because if you have network, they will tell you how people will adapt or how people will accept or embrace the kind of system you are bringing. So they will give you, okay, here we do this, we have this, so
yeah,
you can add this added value to make it this. So
yeah.
that's one thing I want to add to it.
That's great. So I'm very, very glad, Paul, for your beautiful contribution.
Yeah,
And I
thank you.
think the speaker has joined us. So like
Yes,
we
he
can kindly
has.
proceed. Thank you very much.
All right.
In fact, a million apologies. Probably I have to be very international as quickly as possible so that I wouldn't have to bear some of these network hitches. But a million apologies, kindly forgive me. I dropped off. Now, national, and so one of the key I believe is necessary for success either geographically or remotely. And the second thing is that pizza is a product. So you have to be a product yourself, a product that delivers value to whoever encounters you. The third one is that pizza is successful for me because it has a brand anyway. A lot of the time, some of the toppings of pizza, I mean, they're certain type, you taste another end, you say, oh, this isn't good. But people still buy it because it is their brand. It is the fact that it is pizza. If that same thing is packaged and given a different name, people might not buy it. And so for the pursuit of success as an individual, what is your brand? Sometimes your brand would be tied to you being a product. People should know you for something. If people are looking for the top 10 real estate marketers in Ghana, will you feature? If people search your name in Google, will you pop up? If people are looking for an industry expert, would you be a person of choice. So if you have a brand, how can you have a brand? Sometimes you can use thought leadership to sell yourself as a brand. Thought leadership in the sense that you could share knowledge, you could deliver value to people, you could be associated with certain things. It should be clear that when people talk about certain social vices, someone should be able to say, Raymond can never do this because Raymond has a certain brand. It could be a brand of integrity. It could be a brand of quality service. It could be a brand of timeliness, but you should have a brand. And when you have a brand, irrespective of your content, some way, somehow, someone will purchase you. Now, the next thing is that pizza is prepared in an oven. And the lesson I want us to take from this is that sometimes you have to go through the heat of life before you become a fine product. Going through the heat of life might mean that committing to continuous improvement, be interested in gaining new knowledge, be interested in being versatile with your skill, be interested in making sure that whatever experience you need to be useful, gather the experience. We have online platforms, online learning platform all over. You can commit to a weekly completion of an online course, or probably a monthly or a quarterly completion. Read books, be interested in new information. And as you do all of it, you might see that you may have to make certain sacrifices. And those sacrifices might mean that you would probably make certain purchases at the expense of others. If you could use 1,000 Ghana cedis phone, why go and buy a 4,000 Ghana cedis phone for the same purpose? You may have to sacrifice the price that comes with the 4,000 cedi phone just because you want to commit the 3,000 cedi to personal development. But some way, somehow, be prepared to go through the heat of success, because like pizza, until it has gone through the heat, it can never be successful, cannot never be a good product. And so you also have to refine yourself. The fifth lesson for me is that pizza is a combination of ingredients. And those ingredients are of intentional proportions. For example, if we're breaking them now, we have flour. You would probably say bread. Sometimes then there's cheese. Some may have tomatoes. Some may have some other items in it. But you see that when you buy the pizza, the proportion of the salt in it, or the proportion of the cheese, or whatever component ingredient of it is intentional. They don't put too much cheese relative to the bread or vice versa. So in the same way, recognize that the pursuit of success is one that is made up of multiple skills. Now, if you want multiple skills, that could mean that develop various aspects of your life such that at least at any point in time, you can switch between skills. You could be a digital marketer, for example, but at the same time, you could be a software developer. Or in addition to being a software developer, you could be a medical practitioner, but have multiple skills and be intentional about your choice of skills. The fact that you need skills doesn't mean that anything at all, you go and you are studying it, but be intentional. And when you are intentional, have good proportions of it. And in the completeness of these multiple skills, you see that Mr. A might be interested in an aspect of you, Mr. B will be interested in that other skill of you, and the package of it will make you relevant in your pursuit of success. The sixth point is that pizza takes time to prepare. A lot of the time, you wouldn't have an order for pizza delivered in 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Even when you walk in, even when it is a sitting, it might take time before your order gets to your turn. And the lesson for me is that in the pursuit of success, patience is a virtue. If you are impatient, trust me, You may rush, but you'll crash. And a lot of the time, we the youth feel that certain things should happen quick enough. And we forget that you can't be 20 years and all things being equal, expect to have the exposure of a 45-year-old person. And so it may be necessary to sometimes understudy some people so that when you understand, when you pick the lessons, you know that, okay, in the next 5 years, when I understudy such a person, I could become so much of a person. The virtue of patience also means that nothing good comes easily. Nothing good comes easily. You don't go looking for $1 million on the internet without an intentional strategy to end that. It is possible because people have done it, but you should be patient that it may take time, it may take intentional efforts to achieve. But the key thing is patience is key. Otherwise, you rush and crash. A servant lesson for me about pizza, which is relevant for success, is that it has different toppings for different tastes. And this ties in to the with the earlier point I made. Now, if you look at the various varieties of pizza, everybody has his own taste. But pizza is so diverse such that whoever you are, there is a taste for you. So if you look at yourself as a product, as someone pursuing success, whether economic or whichever form it may be, and you sit and assess yourself, would you still be useful to people of various age categories? For example, will you be useful to people of different economic categories? For example, so if you're a marketer, is it only the rich that will buy you as a product, or the poor can afford some aspects of your services? If you're a network developer, is it only a certain industry that you can develop for, or it could be across board? If you're a real estate practitioner, are you just good at property valuation, for example, or facilities management is part? If you are a nurse, for example, are you just good in being a nurse so that tomorrow, if you are not a nurse, nobody can benefit from you? The key thing is that have multiple topics, have variety in your pursuit of success, at least 3, so that if Mr. A wants a part of you, you can serve. If Mr. B wants a part of you, you can serve, and on and on and on. Number 8 is that pizza normally and a lot of the time is served in slices. I mean, you could have a full package served, but a lot of the time it is served in slices. And the lesson for me in a pursuit of success, which I believe is relevant for all of us, is that sometimes you have to live life one slice at a time. You may, in the interest of having multiple talents, you may sign on to about 10 different courses just because you want to be relevant in different fields. It might not work at a go combining all of that. But if you are intentional and if you understand that life could be lived at one slice at a time, then in that way you can plan. For example, you want to be in the next 5 years, who you want to be, you can decide that, okay, in the next 2 years, I can take a course in law, for example. The other 2 years, I will take a course in software development, for example. The next 1 year, I will decide to acquire this type of asset or that type of asset. But be intentional and understand that pizza is eaten in slices, and sometimes so is life. Now, living life as slices also may mean that at a point in time, your focus about life may be developing yourself. But don't spend the rest of your life just focusing on signing on to courses, reading books, developing yourself. At a certain point, you may have to also switch to things like asset acquisition. So stagger your life. in such a way that at every point in time, there's a particular thing you are focusing on. So if you are, for example, between the ages of 20 to 25, personal development might be the first slice you are focusing on. You develop it. And between, for example, 25 to 30, marriage, for example, might be the next slice you are focusing on. And raising a family, it might be a slice. Maybe between 30 and 35, asset acquisition might be the next slice. So you see that my child success is a package, and there's an economic dimension, social, and all of that. If you are intentional in living one slice at a time, or probably 2 slices at a time at a maximum, by a certain time period, you would have completed a number of slices that will come together to define a complete package of success for you. Now, the next thing is that pizza is better enjoyed with friends. A lot of the time, in most of my experience, if you want to really enjoy pizza, you invite a friend or two, or in a party, in a social gathering, and all of that. If you alone go and buy it and you don't really feel it. Now, the lesson for me in that is that you have to build your social network. Very vital. Because if some aspects of life have to be enjoyed with friends, then be prepared to have a social, you can't do it alone. And having a social network means that you may have to have mentors or mentees in your network. Now, in a lot of the time, we focus so much on having a mentor and benefiting from the mentor. In Ghana, we don't really have a very good mentorship mindset. And so a lot of the time, people are not well mentored. But mentors should be interested in raising mentees who could say that on account of this mentor, I became this person. Or they can as well learn from their mentees. Because some business owners actually became who they are because they bought into a business idea of their mentee. Sometimes connect with your classmates, connect with your customers, connect with your employees, connect with people, but be intentional about it. It doesn't mean that in the interest of social network and connection, you are meeting and becoming friends with anybody just like that. No. Be intentional. Connect with people of value. Identify your weaknesses and connect with people who have strengths in your weak areas, and vice versa. Be the strength of someone. Let another person be your strength. But it is key that you have a social network. Now, the next, we are about finishing the thoughts I'm sharing. The next thing is that pizza is best enjoyed whilst hot. The time when pizza is cold, it's not nice. It has to be hot. What for me is key for us is that you have to be hot with your talent and skill. And you should be ready to grab opportunity. Prepare for the opportunity. Don't wait for the opportunity before you prepare for it. If you are a valuer, for example, if you are a marketer, for example, and if you are maybe real estate is your industry, you sell property, someone calls you, what is the property value for this? What is the new trend? What is the dimension? You should be ready to offer value there and there. Don't say, oh, wait, I'm coming, before you are now going to Google and check things and call friends before you. No. If you do that, you are not preparing yourself hot enough to grab opportunity. It is key for us to focus on that. Then 11th point for me is that pizza itself really did not drive its overall success. That the pizza as it is. For me, I believe that some way, somehow, there was an invisible hand that caused the success of pizza. And if I say invisible hand, it could be anything, depending on your belief system. But for me, I believe a God factor is key in the equation of success. Why is it that it is pizza that has gone so international and not fufu? Why is it that it isn't banku that has gone so international? What is it that it isn't a frog meat? Because some other people from different cultures eat frog as a delicacy, but it is pizza. There's an invisible hand. And have a God factor in your life. If you're a Christian, you may take Jesus Christ, God, as your supreme authority that you derive strength from. If you're a non-Christian, your God factor might be anything else. But for me, there is a God factor which is important for the pursuit of success. And the last point about the pizza lesson I want us to focus on is that irrespective of all these beautiful things we have spoken about pizza, not everybody likes pizza anyway. Not everybody likes it. I have met people who will tell you that, oh, as for me, I don't like pizza, it's a hype. I don't like it. But people are still buying anyway. And for me, the lesson there is that in the pursuit of success, if you view the journey of success as a pizza, then within that package, be prepared for rejection. Be prepared for rejection because not everybody will accept. You could be the best footballer, no doubt, but still, for the sake of the shape of your nose, someone may not like you. You could be the best marketer. You could be the best doctor. You could be the best author of a book. You could be the best pastor, irrespective of what career path you have. Some people still will not like you. And so be prepared for rejection and be prepared to walk away from people of negative energy. Because if you waste your energy on these people, you may be losing the time that you need to serve those who believe in your brand and your product. Also understand that you can't win all of the time. A lot of time, most of us, that is the cause of our downfall. You want to win at all costs. You can't win all the time. The universe wasn't designed that way. You can't win all of the time. But as much as possible, win most of the time. Or if you can't win most of the time, at least win a few times. And if you win a few times and you combine all these gradual successes, those winnings, they will come together to be a bulk pack of success for you. And for me, that is key. Now, on a general level, I have some key questions, but even before we delve in, if I'm talking about a generic sense and connecting this conversation with people of importance, in the introductory phase of my submission, I was talking about Mark Zuckerberg and the fact that he's international. Now, if you take Mark Zuckerberg and if you look at his age, he's not qualified to be the president of Ghana. But Mark Zuckerberg's net worth is bigger than the GDP of Ghana. So that is how, if you are intentional about some of these things we have discussed, if you are international, if you become a product, if you have a brand, if you create a brand and all of that, that is how far you can travel. Now, some key life questions after all of the pizza connection and all of that, just to stimulate our thoughts and pursuit. The first question is that for all of us here, if really you are smart enough and as you think, and I am convinced you are smart, all of us here, I am convinced everybody is smart, then the challenge I'm throwing to you is, what can you do to earn at least 1 Ghana cedis from 1 million people, 1 million Ghanaians? Or if you are not in Ghana, whichever country you reside, what can you do to earn 1 unit currency from just 1 million of the people? Now, by current projections, the population of Ghana is about 30 million. So 1 million out of 30 million is just a little, not even up to 1%, just a little above 1%, around 2%. But what can you do to earn 1 million? One Ghana is for 1 million Ghanaians, or earning 10 cedis from just 100,000 Ghanaians. Or that same thing giving you 100 cedis from 10,000 Ghanaians, or 1,000 cedis from 1,000 Ghanaians, or 100,000 Ghana cedis from 100 Ghanaians. Think about it. If you can identify something to do and connect that with this conversation we've had, in less than a decade, you could be a millionaire, at least in the United States dollar terms, or on a basic level in Ghana cedi terms. Then the second question is, how can you earn multiple incomes without being physically present? A lot of us, the youth, why we are not relevant is that our relevance is confined to the geographical area at which we are at a certain point in time. But think about it. Be able to earn income whether you are physically present or not, whether you are sleeping or not, be ready to make income. And the key thing for me is that being able to earn income when you are not physically present is a kind of a shock absorber you are building for your earning capacity. And the third question I want all of us to think about is that if you lose your job today, assuming you're employed or whatever you do, how will you survive? And I am challenging you that whatever you will do to survive, should you lose your job today, can actually pass as a business idea now. Implement it today. If you lose your job and you sell water to survive, you can still sell water whilst you still have the job. Start it today. I challenge you, you can do it. And as you do it, apply the lessons you picked from PISA. You could be successful with that. And the final question I'm asking all of us is, what shock absorbers have you developed for your earnings? If a disaster strikes an aspect of your talent or an industry of your talent, if it crashes, let's say you are a finance expert, and the recent turmoil in the financial sector in Ghana, if a turmoil of that sort hits you, how will you survive? What shock absorbers do you have? If you don't have shock absorbers for your income, if you don't have shock absorbers for your talent, you are doomed. And the doom is that it will be difficult for you to compete in this highly competitive world today. So I challenge you, have shock absorbers. And some practical ways you can have a shock absorbers is develop multiple streams of income. Could be in employment, start another business. Develop multiple talents. Don't just be a finance expert. Have an additional knowledge. And as you do all of that, they will cushion you. You'll be able to withstand shocks and everything else coming together with a God factor. I believe that you could be successful judging by a certain metric of success. It might not just be economic, it could be religious success, but some way, somehow, you would be successful. If you pursue any of these things, I believe you can learn from Peter. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption with the internet, but I'm ready to listen to your.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raymond Nabi. I think my notes are full, and this section has been very, very powerful. Very brief, but very, very powerful. So I would like to make room for questions. So please, if you have any question, you can kindly raise your hand so that I unmute you so that you can speak. Okay, Mr. Chester Labi.
Hello, Raymond.
Yes, Chester.
Thank you for the presentation. I think you were on point, and you covered